Lexi here from Art of Clean. Today we're here to help you make sure that you can get a wine stain out of your carpet, because this happens. We spill them, friends spill them when they come over for a drink. So today we're going to get to the bottom of how we can get rid of them stains, or how we can help them stains. I have Pierre here today. Pierre has been in this business for 25 years.
Yeah, well, I've been working in the cleaning industry for that time, but I've not been full-time for the whole time. And Art of Clean, it's just coming up to 20 years now.
20 years, wow. So he knows his stuff. So we're gonna get to the bottom of the wine stains on your carpet today, and whether or not we can do anything. So Pierre, I think the biggest thing is, why do wine stains dye your carpet? Why can't we get them out? Because I've got red wine still underneath my, it's under a rug now.
I see it happen so many times. I've seen it happen. You know, of course, my career has changed quite a bit over the years, especially the last few years, where I'm not so much on the van anymore, but I used to go into people's homes and I used to see so many of them. And yes, it can be a problem, and many times it's a problem because people try to remove it themselves first, and that is also why. And also, a drink is usually present on a Sunday when you have friends round, on a weekend when you have friends round. Usually you'll have some drinks, and you know, if we talk about wine stains, it's not just wine stains. In that same category, there's some other types of liquids that cause a similar type of stain as well. Exactly.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Coke is another one. So why does the wine stain our carpet the way it does? Can we explain it? Because before we got into the how-to, maybe explaining why it does it.
What causes it? So what causes a wine stain? We're probably best to go back and understand what type of stain it is. And you know, it might sound interesting that you think, well, a wine stain is a wine stain, but actually in the world of cleaning, wine stains fall in a certain category. We mentioned Coca-Cola earlier, or similar brands are available, and you also have coffee stains and all that. All that is classed into one particular type of stain, and that type of stain we call a tanning stain. A tanning stain is a stain that's caused by a dye in the product, and that is what caused the mark. So in coffee case, we have the coffee bean that has created the brown stain that is left on the carpet if you spill a coffee, and then of course on the wine side you have the fermenting process creates the coloring in the wine, and that is what creates the stain on the carpet. It's that dye in the product that creates that, and similar to with Coca-Cola or Pepsi or any other brands as well. So that's a particular type of category. So if we look at different categories of stains, you would have a solvent-based stain, you would have a water-based stain, and then you'll have unsoluble stains. So that's the main categories. And then in soluble stains, you will have then a tanning stain. So the tanning stain is a certain category of stain that falls in there. So that's where we then need to go and understand how would we remove that stain.
And is it just a particular wine, or are all wines tanning stains?
You know, all wines would be tanning stains, although your white wine would not necessarily leave a stain from the wine itself, because it has got a tannin colouring much in it, but it doesn't mean that it won't leave a mark. It can leave a mark because of soiling present in the carpet, less likely to leave a mark compared to red wine stains, but it can still leave a mark, yes.
Right. So the thing that you want to know,
yes,
can we do anything about it?
You know, we can increase the chance of a successful removal of the wine stain. Okay. I would not want to create a thought in somebody's mind watching this video that, you know what, I never in my life need to use a professional again. What we really want to do is to help people understand what they can do to make the chance as great as possible to remove that stain. Because it is true that even if you do the right thing, which I'll show in a minute, you will probably, and I'm going to show an example here, we will probably still see a light mark at the end. It's possible that we can actually remove it, but if you cannot totally remove it, then the next call is the professional that can come and help you. And the professional, I've seen it so many times in 20 odd years I've been doing it, that we turn up and everything has been tried on the stain, and by that time it's totally impossible to remove it.
Oh.
So if we are exploring the idea of making this video, it's purely to give the person watching this video the chance to do the right thing to a place where they go, well, I've done the best what I can. I now need to accept that's the best I can do. And if that's good enough, that's good enough. Or, you know what, I need some more done. Let me call a professional. And then stop the pain of the professional turning up going, oh, no, you've done something I can't do anything.
So that to me says don't try too many things. And I'm guessing that you would be able to help us with
yes,
some
just
tips
give a guide as to what can be done and what can't be done.
That's great.
Or shouldn't be done, rather.
Should we go over to your little...
We can certainly go over there. I think we can go ahead and assume that, you know, carpets, wine stains can happen on carpets, and that we also look in this very broad example, we will treat coffee stains in a similar way. Coffee and wine stains are both the same, so whether you have a coffee stain or whether you have a wine stain, we will treat them in a similar way.
So we can help more than one of
absolutely
your problems today. We can help with your coffee stains too.
Coffee and wine stains,
that's
because
good.
it falls
Because
in
they're
that
the
same
same
category.
category.
And also you have the Coca-Colas, the drinks, the iron brews, those sort of things all fall in the same category of a tanning stain. So yes, we can have a look at that. So let's go over to my little setup over there, and I can show what we've got. So over here is my carpet, and what I would have to start with, of course, is a nice bottle of Australian Shiraz as my example of red wine. Now I want to stress again that it does not mean for sure that we're going to get this mark out, but I just want to be realistic, and I don't want to create any idea of, you know what, we've just fiddled it to make it look amazing.
And he's really not drinking any of that bottle, I think.
Oh, yes, I've had
He's nearly finished it.
some of it last night. So what we've got, Tracy, is I've got a bit of red wine here, and we can simply imagine that this wine would tip over onto the carpet. Right, now that tips over on the carpet, and this is a very weird moment because
Normally everyone rushes. Oh my god!
The friend has just come over, and now that poor friend feels horrible because it's your new carpet that's been installed 3 months ago, and immediately we all want to run at it and
really
give it the
scrub
best
it.
shot to give it get it up, and usually we get a cloth and give it a good old rub. Right, and because we give it a rub, what will happen here is the pile would burst, so that means in this case the loop will go fuzzy. And that would create a bit more of a mark. So what we first want to do is we want to absorb as much of this as possible. And you can go and use a white cotton towel. I've got a cotton towel here, or you can use a paper towel from the kitchen. And of course, this might leave now, make my nice cotton towel a bit ugly. And what we do is just purely put pressure on it to absorb this into the towel as much as possible.
So
right?
note to you, don't scrub.
And no, yeah, exactly. So what I'm doing is just putting pressure on this so that I absorb that into the towel. And you can see, of course, there's places where we've already absorbed into the towel. Absorb that in as much as I can, turn my towel, and look at how much I actually got out already. And you can also really see it starts to look a little bit better. And I absorb it first. Of course, we don't want to go and spray stuff down until we come to a place where we now feel fairly happy that we've removed as much as possible from this spill. And of course, while we are now calmed everybody down and we are following a process that looks a little organized, the friend feels a little less embarrassed that they've just knocked over the glass. Or, in worst case scenario, you visit the friend, you knock it over.
And you knock the glass over. It's okay, I can deal with it. Pierre taught me.
So then we absorb as much as we can into this. And as I said earlier, you can actually use a kitchen towel, the paper version.
Yeah.
And though very few cotton type towels, even if they have got colour in them, will actually transfer the colour. But I would definitely advise that you use something without a colour on it, because you don't want to transfer colour just in case. So we are coming to a place now where we've absorbed quite a bit of this wine up to this towel, right? And what we can do now is decide, right, what do we have to our disposal? Now, naturally, the first inclination is, well, I heard somebody said, I read on Google, oh, I saw on Facebook.
Google's
And
great.
guess what? The first thing they go, for example, is...
Sea salt.
Yeah, exactly, some salt. Somebody said we put salt on it.
Oh.
That I've heard many times. People go, oh, don't worry, we can put some salt on it, right?
I'm not eating
Now,
that.
what would happen with salt, and the reason I can only think, why people would say salt. and I would agree only for that reason, is the salt will absorb some of that wine,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing, we've done it on the towel.
Yes,
We've done it on the towel. We've now absorbed this into the towel, and I can hardly see any come out. And notice I have dabbed, I didn't rub. Now, that has happened, and we are going to think wives' tales that happens, and that gives us an idea of how to deal with it. Salt first, and people will put a big old lump of salt on there, and tomorrow come back to it and look at it, and all this wine will still be in the carpet. Some of it in the salt, but not totally out. Now, here's the reason why I would say salt is not a good thing. I have something else here, right? This is a dye powder that you put in your washing machine when you dye clothes, right?
Yeah.
Now, why would I have this in my video? Tracy, what else do you add to the wash if you dye clothes?
Salt.
Why do you add salt to it?
I'm not entirely sure, but I just know that when I've dyed my jeans before, they've asked you to put salt.
They
in
do, and they do that because the salt actually set the colour to the dye, to the fabric.
So putting salt on that red wine.
So putting salt on this red wine is like putting this dye down and pouring some salt over it, and then voila, now you have dyed your carpet.
Okay.
So do not put salt on your carpet.
Bad.
Bad, very bad, right? Very bad. So I'll hide the dye away, and note, don't use salt. So then somebody else very wisely come and go, oh, I've got the plan, I saw this on Facebook.
The white wine trick.
Let's get some white wine. Good. I've got a very nice bottle of Bordeaux here from 21. I'll crack that open and let's pour it on the wine. Now, Tracy, I've got a secret here for you. Is that right or wrong?
Wrong.
Why?
I don't know, but I just...
I tell you what, it's wrong because there's a beautiful bottle of Bordeaux.
You don't waste the wine.
So the bottle of Bordeaux actually is certainly a good way of dealing with this problem. Notice I don't go for the red, I go for the white, just in case.
Yeah.
So you will then also go for the white wine, and that is not incorrect. But what I want to do is save your bottle of Bordeaux or anything else you might have in a white wine version by asking you to go to the kitchen and get some white vinegar. Notice I also have malt vinegar. Goes well with your chips.
Yes.
Right? Not this, because there is also a bit of colorant in there.
Is that tannin as well?
This would also possibly stain your carpet, especially if it's a lighter colour.
Yeah.
And there will be a bit of a tanning stain from this as well, although the acidity in this product will actually work against the staining, but I would advise go for the white.
The white one, yeah.
White vinegar. So what we're going to do is we want to create a little bit of our own Bordeaux, right? And how we do that is we get a little glass, if my video works nicely, we get a bit of water, and I would advise do this over the sink, but just because we are trying to get it in the shot, I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to pour a bit of a quarter to a half of vinegar into that water, right? So I'm making it about a mix of 50-50. That's what my aim would be, right? Okay. And then what I want to do is get some of that onto the stain, and I want to use this towel, and I want to basically dilute that back out, right?
Right, yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll put some of that down onto that stain. Right. I don't want to overdo it now. I've got a little bit there as well. And also, you will observe that this towel, this carpet, don't seem to be protected. So if you have a protective coating applied, it would be
easier.
A bit easier. And also, I'm going to just turn the camera a little bit this way, right? And I'm going to show you. I've got a problem here because I've got this glass still sitting here with a bit of wine in. My advice is do not leave your glass here. If you tipped it over and there's a bit, move it out of the way, because you might tip the next one over, the same one over with whatever's left, while you're busy trying to clean this up.
Yeah, no, that's
a little bit of tip there. Move it out of the way.
Is that because you nearly knocked it over again?
I sort of nearly. I sort of looked at it and I thought, don't knock that over. Okay.
Another red wine stain.
So we are busy dabbing.
Yeah.
We are busy dabbing. So I want to dab this and transfer it into the towel. Okay. And so you get a little bit of transfer still, but now notice it's much lighter than your previous one. Okay, let me get it in the shot. This is my new one, that's my old one. So I'm busy diluting that out, and I bring it out of the carpet this way, right? Now in our video we will also maybe not be able to show you the after straight away because it needs to dry. See, now it's much lighter. We're going to repeat that process. And notice my dabbing. I don't rub, Tracy, because if I rub, what I'll do is fuzz the carpet up, especially this loop pile.
Yeah, because they do get fuzzy.
So I go back and I apply a little bit more. And then, you know, you think to yourself, you know, well, this is not a big stain. This is not a big stain.
No.
Let me show you something. Whoops.
Cool.
On this occasion it has not actually gone through, but it can happen that your stain looks small at the back, at the front, but it's actually huge at the back. So just consider that too.
I'll actually pop a little overlay of, we have a coffee stain that shows you just that, where the coffee's gone right through and the backing was massive.
Yes, exactly.
But
so
the stain on the actual carpet.
Exactly. And what happens there is it actually, because you might carry a cup from above or a tray and it tips out of the tray and it falls from a height and it actually penetrates into the carpet much more. Right, so now what we've done is we have now transferred quite a lot of this into the towel, and we look at it, we see, you know what, it's very, very light colored. And we're going to maybe do one more application of this vinegar mix, white water and vinegar, because the acidity actually helps you to bring that liquid out with the colorant. This is actually a very similar way to when we clean rugs and we find rug color moves, that we use a similar type of process to stop the color adhering to the next door fiber. So what's happening here is the color is diluted into the water, and the acidity from the vinegar is stopping it from adhering to the neighboring fiber. So it stops that movement of the color into the fiber next to it. Because if you just use water, what you'll find is that you actually just make the stain bigger. Because what the water would do is it would dissolve this and then spreads it out to the next neighboring fiber, and it would just stick into that fiber. So the acidity from the vinegar stops that happening. So what we'll do now is we go ahead, and you see there's still a little bit of pink, so I'm going to go ahead and dab as much out as possible. And then I go, okay, right, now I come to a place where I start to feel semi-happy, even though this does look still quite horrendous probably on video. Notice how much colour I've now removed from this carpet, right? My beautiful white towel is not so beautiful anymore.
No, it's really not.
So what we do now is remove that, and I go to find my Art of Clean spot remover in the cupboard, right? What I can then do is go ahead and say, right, let's try a little bit of spot remover on there. What I'll do is spray very lightly some of that over the top. Notice I've not gone ahead and just simply sprayed the stain remover on there. I've diluted more of the colour out. You see, all this colour, all this colour would have stayed behind if I went straight in with my stain remover, which is not correct.
Yeah.
So we want to dilute some of that out first, and then we want to apply some of this stain remover, and then we go ahead and we now dab that again. Right, now Tracy, here's the trick. We dab this as much as we can, and we can see there's hardly any staining now in the video, if I can show you there. Hardly ever of that, but we still have some in there. And now we want this to be removed, and naturally you leave this to dry now. Now the problem is that it wicks up and it sits at the very tips of the fibers, and you might look at this and go, ooh, this looks horrible still. So there's a little trick. What you do is go and get yourself a nice towel, right, nice clean towel, and you'll notice this side is nice and clean. And then what I'll do is I'll lay this over, like so, over my stain. And then what I'll do is go and find a heavy book or something heavy, and I would then take this, and I want to protect my book, so what I'll do is go and find a black bin liner, right, and I'll lay this over my towel, and then I'll place my nice heavy book on top of that, so that the weight then lays on this, and the towel will now absorb this liquid, any moisture that's left in the carpet will absorb into the towel, and then dry there. But the moisture would continue traveling into the towel and remove the stain, what's left of it, into the towel.
Oh, I see.
So then in a day or two, you can then actually come and lift this up, and you should have much less of a stain. Then by that time, you can then go ahead and say, well, I call the professionals in, and if you call the professionals in and you say to them, well, I've done this and I try to remove it, then me as a professional would look at that and go, I can deal with that. The problem is when I have now used the salt, where my salt is, I've used my salt, and that didn't work, and then I went ahead and I used some white wine, my nice Bordeaux, and then I didn't work, and then I went to try my oven cleaner, and I've seen that happen.
Oh, wow.
And then I've used some Vanish, and all these things, and now you call the professional go, sorry, no, that's just not going to come out. So if I turn up and I've got this, and the client says, listen, I'm just a bit worried, it's dry, but it's still there, and I lift this up and I go, well, there's a bit of a stain, I'm more than happy to try it still, and I'm probably going to get to a place where I can remove it. But by the time all these other things, and salt, and oven cleaner, and white wine, and all sorts have been thrown, that's not going to come out. So that's what I would advise to do. Biggest tip from this is get yourself your towel and absorb as much as you can.
For a little tiny bit amount of wine, that's a lot that's come off,
yes.
really, isn't it?
Yes.
So, yeah.
So, there we go. Hope that helps.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye now.
Hi. We're back again. This is 24 hours later. This is the wine on the carpet. We have left it overnight with the, as you can see, the weight on it. And this is us. We're now going to have a quick look and see. And as you can see, it's pretty much gone. You can see a little bit can you see on there? I don't know if you can see it on here. You can see a very faint, just down here, there's a very, very faint amount of wine. Not that you can see it on the camera, but it's there. But the carpet has actually, that says to me what you were taught yesterday about the red wine and the distilled white vinegar. Perfect option. And if you have any other problems and you need us, you know where we are.